We have Bruce live in the locker room in Tallahassee celebrating on the field with the Florida State. For NC State, 27 straight points for Clemson tonight. Like you said, you're not going to win games like that. It can't happen. And I don't know why. Like, we were able to run the ball so well in the first half, especially to the left side, and then all of a sudden we started to abandon it. And like I said, there is some inconsistency.
How are they going to approach this game? How are they going to beat this Florida State team?
Well, we're going to break you guys.
That's it. The show's over.
In the story, we're going to break you guys. Look, and I'm joking, but it's true.
Lord, the climb continues, KB. Oh my God!
I am sweating.
Look at my heart. Look.
You know what? Yeah, I am
that his roommate was drafted in the NFL. He's a very famous football player. I'm not going to name him. Oh, I remember his name, Jack Lambert. You ever heard of Jack Lambert with the Pittsburgh Steelers? Okay. Jack Lambert with the Pittsburgh. His roommate in college helped negotiate his deal when he was drafted.
All right, and welcome back to another episode of Seminoles Sideline 365. As always, I am KB, and with me, still in the asylum, is Bruce, the old man with those white walls surrounded. I'm surprised you're not in the straitjacket at this point. We are, you've been in that room for a while. I'm glad to see that they've been feeding you wherever you are, and that you may be in a black site. I actually do not know where you are right now, surrounded by those walls. So we're glad that you can call and you have the satellite phone wherever you are. But how are you doing, old man?
Yeah, everything's really, really good here. You know, look.
yeah.
Look. Get me out of here. Get me out.
Yeah. But how is it going on your end? How is it going?
Everything's good, man. I'm still on the road. You know, the temperatures are where I am for security reasons. I'm not going to announce where I am. My team of security agents, okay, very trained, highly elite force special operators, retired, obviously. But they said, don't say where you are, but it is like 58 degrees, sunny, but it drops down in the 40s at night. I got the flannel on. When I go to cold, I wear the flannel. Yeah, here we go. Oh, look at the old man is wearing a flannel. I don't care what you think. It's
Flannels
nice and warm
anymore.
But I'm not wearing pants. So
well, thanks for letting us know that. Yeah, as Costanza would say, shrinkage. So let's move forward before we creep anyone else out. So guys, we have guys and gals. We have three main general topics we'll be talking about tonight. You can follow them along the bottom. We're going to talk about latest news and updates from around the college football world. And then we want to get out there because at this point you've probably listened to multiple Duke football versus Florida State preview shows. So we'll dive into that, of course, and give our opinions on what to expect. But we'll get through some general news on what's out there, what we're hearing, what's breaking. Then we'll jump into can Jordan Travis, how will he perform against his top 5 defense in Duke? Because I think it'll be one of his stiffest competitions he'll face all year. Some thought it would be the LSU game. We've learned that they have a dog shit defense. So I think this Duke defense will be one of the top teams he faces all year. So we'll dive into that. And then lastly, we'll give our final predictions and see if we go along with the betting odds for this Saturday night's game in Doak. So let's go and start off with latest news and updates. So I think the big breaking story on Thursday or today, or was it yesterday, is that Michigan is now being investigated for potentially spying on their opponents. Another version of Spygate, it seems like. You texted me, or I think my sister texted me about this, and I haven't, I just got off work, so I haven't been able to dive into this. But Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines apparently are being investigated by the NCAA for potentially spying on the sidelines. It looks like stealing signs, essentially. You don't let me know that you may have some details around this. What is going on there?
Yeah, first of all, it is a serious charge because it is being investigated. So there were some obvious grounds to the allegations. Now, I haven't spent all day researching this thing, but I don't even know who brought the allegations. But obviously somebody leaked it to the NCAA, or Michigan brought, it's the university that has a potential issue. Let's say that an allegation or a potential issue. Once a university finds out about that, about a program or players, it is their first obligation to bring it to the attention of the NCAA. Okay. So it's a self-reporting type system. I'm going to assume they did some self-reporting on this. I don't know that for sure. I haven't done a deep dive into it. However, it's obviously got some beef to it because it's being looked into. Now, here's my understanding that the allegation is they're stealing signs. Now, is this like in baseball during that World Series when the Houston Astros, who won the World Series that year, they were accused and found out during the investigation they were stealing signs, and they did win the World Series. The investigation took place afterwards, and that whole World Series victory championship has now been tainted by sign stealing. Players, managers were suspended, and blah, blah, blah. Now, there is no rule, KB, about stealing signs in the NCAA rule book. However, there is rules that says you cannot send people on site to view practice sessions of your opponent and have them there, doing research, stealing signs, and or recording them in some way for research or later research on them. So the question is, let's say Michigan did not send anybody to an opponent's site. However, they have an office in their football program, and their whole job is to analyze the opponent, including what their signals are online. Now, they have the tapes of their opponents. And if they could break down and put together like the secret code against the Germans of World War II, potentially, or break that algorithm, then more power to them, as long as they don't send anybody boots on the ground to the opponent. That's my understanding. And now I could see putting someone in your football operations to do something like that, because it gives you a huge leg up as long as you're playing within the rules.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's interesting because there's that fine line between, these teams get extensive tape on the teams. They get a ton of scouting ahead of time via digitally, right? But in terms of like that unnamed guy in the trench coat going to games of the opponents and kind of trying to sit behind that team's bench and trying to figure out what plays are being called based on what signs are coming in. And now you see those big poster boards now everyone uses with a different, it's kind of like in World War II when you were trying to figure out what does this code mean for this play. It's kind of, these code breakers essentially trying to figure out what these plays means. And it's a lot less complex than that, but it's kind of the connection there. So, it's interesting. It's not like Michigan hasn't been in trouble before, right? It's not like Jim hasn't tried to circumvent the rules. He's already been under investigation for, level 2 violations during COVID, and trying to meet with the crews during the COVID dead period, having too many coaches in practice and watching player workouts via Zoom. So it's not like, and he was suspended for the first 4 games of the season. So it's not like he gets the benefit of the doubt.
I think it was 3. I think it was 3 games.
3 games. Regardless, it's not like he's been not trying to get the competitive edge on his opponents. So I wouldn't put it past Jim to say, hey, intern, why don't you go over to Michigan State's game and see if you can figure out what X, Y, and Z play is.
Now wait a minute. You said go over to their game. Is that different than going to practices? If you go to the game, you could sit there in the stands and try to decode it all.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
That's to the extent that we'll find out, because I'm thinking that there may have been a team that may have lost to them that's saying, I think our signs were stolen. And remember, that's the whole connection, where that's why Florida State fans in the national championship game against Auburn, they believe that a former coach who was at Auburn, at Florida State, who was on the Auburn sideline, knew basically their game plan in the first half and basically had that insider knowledge. And now it's not the same thing, but it's someone who had inside knowledge, who was essentially used to be on the sidelines of Florida State, was now on Auburn staff, and basically knew the play call signs. And in the first half, that's why Auburn knew exactly what Florida State was doing. And then once they switched things up, Florida State went on to roll, or basically be able to score points on Auburn. So, like you said, it does make a difference. And if they do find out that they are on the side, they somehow snuck in, I think it will be a very, very big deal. But like I said, is it just a salty opponent who's kind of trying to throw this flag out there? I don't know. And this will come to light in probably 6 to 12 months. I don't know if this is going to be a quickly resolved thing. But now this is something, typically they say where there's smoke, there's fire. I don't know if the NCAA would have announced it like this, or this would have come out if there wasn't something more substantial there. So.
I agree. I think it'll all come out in the wash, and I think there must be a little bit something to it for them, for the NCAA to launch an investigation, because when you launch an investigation, first of all, it puts a stain on a program, whether or not it's proven out or not. But there must be a little something to this, but we don't know beyond what we've discussed.
And like I said, I don't think at this point we can give Jim Harbaugh the benefit of the doubt, because like I said, he's racked up some violations, none of them super, super, super serious, but he is trying to get a competitive advantage. And this would be, in my opinion, very serious if he was caught doing this. This would be potentially, you could debate this. This could be contract terminating if he is caught doing this. So, but once again, these are allegations, and you never know, what's going to be the outcome.
Let me add to this before we move on to the next topic, and that is, I could see football programs that have the money or just have the interest, and having a very small staff of people that can, the computers we use these days can break stuff down, and they're breaking it down in so many ways that they could break down stuff for codes on the sideline and what a play, and see if there's any type of what would be the word, consistency between a sign and what the play is. And if they could do that, and you can just do it on a few of them, you could have a small competitive edge, which could be the difference. And that is not illegal to do something like that. So that's all I have. Let me ask you this question. JMU, James Madison University, and you and I have discussed this offline a little bit. JMU is not eligible for the postseason this year, was not eligible for the postseason last year, and this year they're undefeated. They're playing tonight. And they're playing Marshall. They could have an undefeated season and not be eligible. Okay, for the most part, they cannot be eligible because of a 2-year ban done by the NCAA by law 20.6.2.1.4 that says there's a 2-year reclassification period for FBS transitioning teams. So they're going from FCS to FBS, but they're being punished basically for 2 years, and they've had solid seasons. I don't understand the rationale for that. I don't get it. It makes no logic to punish a team. The only way they can get in, if there's another or there are not enough eligible teams to fill the bowls, and that's ridiculous that they even put that in as a clause. It makes no sense. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. The fact that, like you said, there's that backdoor where they could make a game. Well, first of all, they can't even play in their conference. They play in the Sun Belt, the Fun Belt, which for one of the mid-major conferences, they always find the ways to bring it to these Power Five. They always find to make these close games, and App State's been historically the upset team James Madison's now part of that conference. Coastal Carolina was a great team.
Southern
for a while there.
Mississippi's in there.
Well, they're garbage this year, but they are in
That's
there.
what I mean. We played them.
But
we
but like you
played
said,
one. Yeah,
exactly. So they have a lot of great teams in there. And so the fact that they probably are going to compete for the conference title and likely not be able to play in it is a shame. But they also did sign up, but they knew what the rules were, and when they were coming up. It is a stupid rule. I agree. I don't know why there's this 2-year reacclimation period.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know what that is. If you're going up, then you'll either get your ass kicked for 2 years and you won't make a bowl.
Yeah.
But if somehow you play above your weight for 2 years, why shouldn't you reap those rewards and start making some of that money that you should get, right? Because I see this as they're losing out on potential profits for a small school, right? This is a way for these smaller schools that they want to make the jump and they overachieve. Why shouldn't they get this payout? Why shouldn't they earn that bowl revenue? Why shouldn't they earn the conference championship revenue, right? And also for the conferences, what if JMU goes undefeated this year? You're not going to see your conference be on one of even if JMU goes undefeated, they're not going to be a playoff team unless shit goes haywire. But wouldn't you want JMU, if you're the Sun Belt Conference, wouldn't you want them showcased in potentially a holiday, like a New Year's Eve, New Year's?
Well, the Sun Belt's all for them appearing. It's the NCAA rule that says this. The manual outlines a 2-year reclassification period that they must go through. And that goes through an orientation session on FBS requirements. How long could that take? A week? That's ridiculous. 2 annual reports, okay, a compliance review session, and more. Listen, don't punish these teams. They're upgrading their programs. If, in fact, they make violations, then not let them go forward to postseason play. But James Madison has done everything right, and they should be allowed. It is another ridiculous decision by the NCAA that there is no rationale to explain. I know we don't want to keep going on. We got other topics, but it's ridiculous.
Ellis says they cheated. Doesn't matter. Ellis, I don't know. Can you clarify what that means? How you
cheated? Doesn't matter.
Because I don't know what you're referring to. So
I don't either. You got to come back and clarify that.
They cheated. Let us know. But if
what does that mean?
I don't know. You'll have to clarify that statement because I don't know what that means.
Okay. We're not going to spend all night on James Madison here, but it's stupid.
I just think that if I was
Daryl Jackson, the decision they made on that is just ridiculous.
Well, it's just there's all these bylaws that you can't possibly know all these bylaws, and a lot of them.
And James Madison appealed it, and they lost.
So. And we're still looking for the Daryl Jackson because Tez Walker's still been playing for 2 weeks, and he's making a huge impact.
Well, there's no sense Daryl Jackson blowing a season here. He might as well just wait and make a big impact next year when we're really going to need him.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. So moving forward then, let's get into, unless there's any other news you want to discuss before we get into Duke preview.
No, I got one thing for the end of the show. That's where it's worth.
All right, let's jump into it then. So topic at hand is this weekend's a big matchup with Duke, which like I said, I think is probably the last remaining really. Obviously, every game counts, and every game you'll have to be prepared for. But I think this is probably one of your toughest defensive opponents you'll have to go against, and which will really test this offense to see can they put it up against a top 5 defense, because that's what Duke is. Duke is not someone we should underestimate. It's not a team that is going to be a pushover in any regard. They may potentially be missing Riley Leonard on the offensive side. Mike Elko is giving the we think he'll play. We may. From what he said this week makes me think he probably won't play. I think he's trying to get Florida State to game plan for him.
And that's a different game plan for him.
Well, yeah, one is
he's
a very good quarterback.
He's a running quarterback too.
Yeah,
and he's an experienced quarterback.
Yeah. But as I think Fuller said, Mike Norvell said, we're going to game plan for both, and that's the smart way to go about it, right? But yeah, so like I said, this is going to be a top 5 defense. Duke has played, they've played Clemson before. We both played Clemson before. They shut down Clemson in week 1. They played very good against them. And this is a team that is.
Yeah, they won 28-7.
And they've won 28-7, right? Last week against NC State, they shut them down as well. That's a 4-3 NC State team. It's not a great NC State team. But the thing is with that is that their offense wasn't able to get going, but their defense was able to win that game for them last week. Look at what NC State they did against NC State. Duke went 1 for 9 on third down and still won the game by 21 points.
That's
They
crazy.
got outgained. They went, they only threw 4 completions on the night, Duke did, with their backup quarterback. And they still won the game by 21 points. That just shows you that this defense is able to lock down a average NC State team. They didn't have their time of possession was -17 for them or -13 for them on the night, and they still find a way to win this ball game.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? That game we had against NC State that time when they had that backup new quarterback in there. Remember?
Yeah.
He kept throwing those little passes and he'd make some runs and he beat us that night. Remember?
Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh, they're going to be easy. We're going to roll over them. This guy comes in there and has a career game, right? I don't remember.
Well, I wouldn't say no. No, you mean on that game. This guy Duke did not have a career game.
No. I'm talking about the other time when NC State beat us. But I think you're right, KB. Duke has beaten 2 ACC their opponents. They're 2-0. They beat Clemson handily, 28-7 the first game, which shocked the country. Okay, and shocked Clemson, shocked Dabo, which I'm glad to see.
Yeah.
They ran the ball 40 times for 213 yards against Clemson. So that, and then when they played Notre Dame, they lost to Notre Dame by 7 points. They ran the ball 32 times for 159 yards in that game. And against NC State, they ran the ball another 30 times for 112 yards. So they are a run-centered team.
Yeah.
Especially with a backup quarterback now. If they have the backup quarterback, Henry Bellin, in there, they're going to just throw the higher efficiency type passes. They're not going to try to turn it over in that regard, and they're going to try to run the football at Florida State. So I think Florida State's going to have to kind of stack the box a little bit, play one-on-one a lot on their outside receivers as much as they can, and try to stop the run and force them to pass. That would be my strategy against this team. They love to run the ball. They've been effective running the ball, but we have to stop that run.
Yeah, one thing I would correct about you: the first game of the season against Clemson, Clemson lost that game more than Duke won that. Clemson gave the ball away so many times, and I think Clemson had over 400 yards, 450 yards of offense in that game.
But my point is, Duke still ran the ball 40 times.
Yeah, no, to your point, Duke, regardless if Riley Leonard is in the game or not, they want to lean on their running game 100%. And that's
because as you know, KB, that also does what from a game plan? It shortens the game.
Yeah.
You control possession, you win time of possession, right? You're the underdog basically in a sold out Doak Campbell Stadium. So you want to control the tempo of the game and you want to hang around, right? Absolutely. And I think with that type of running game that they have, we've got to take them out of that. Absolutely. If they're running that ball efficiently, then it's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, I think that the last great opponent that they played was Notre Dame. We saw what Notre Dame did last week against USC and just demolished them. And I think that was coming for USC based on them having no virtual defense. Notre Dame beats Duke, but only beats them. That was a close game going into the fourth quarter, right? I think that's the best barometer we have right now of two good teams going at it, of an offense that can do a lot. Notre Dame can put up points with Sam Hartman, and I think that's a good barometer of what this game potentially could look like going in, because Notre Dame wants to they want to balance it out with the run game and the passing game. But Notre Dame was able to put up 159 yards and 2 touchdowns on Duke ultimately. Sam Hartman had a mediocre game, throwing for 200 yards plus on 50% on 50% passing. But Duke also on the same frame, Notre Dame has a pretty good defense, and they were able to, like you said, run it 40 times for almost 200 yards. in a loss. So I think to your point, both sides of the ball are going to want to establish the run early. And with Florida State, it's going to be important for them that, one, Jordan Travis takes care of the ball like he has been. He's been very, very good the last couple of weeks on taking care of the ball. He's been hit a couple of times. But the thing is, he hasn't fumbled it away. He hasn't made the bad throw over the middle. Sometimes you wish he would just throw it out of bounds and not take the sack. But the thing he hasn't done recently is he hasn't thrown it into the arms of the defender, which is great. He's not giving the ball over. He's allowing, if we need to, giving the punter be able to pin them deep if we need to. He's allowing us a situation to go for it on fourth down because he's not giving up those yards. So I think the keys to this game is establishing the run early, taking care of the ball throughout the game, and then allowing the explosive pass game to do what they do. Because I honestly don't think, as well as Duke has played defensively, that if you take the run game out of it, if this offense gets on the field 7 to 10 times in the first half, that Duke's going to be able to keep them out of the end zone. The only way that happens is that if Duke is able to run it 40 times in the game and basically control the time of possession, that's like the BC game, for instance. If Duke is able to only hold Florida State to 4 possessions in the first half like BC did, that's the only way they're going to be able to stay in this game into the fourth quarter. That is going to be, they're going to try to, I think, stay to the game plan that BC did. Take away the possessions, like you said, eat up clock, sustain drives, put points on the board. Keep Jordan Travis, Keon Coleman off the field, because they know if those guys are on the field, there's a high likelihood that they're going to end up in the end zone if you allow them to do it multiple times, especially in the first half. So
I agree with a lot of what you said. I think that, and I tweeted about this earlier in the week. I tweeted that this is a team that Florida State cannot overlook. Okay, you cannot overlook this Mike Elko team. He is a good coach in a program that most coaches use as a stepping stone program. He takes the talent. This team is not loaded. They are not loaded with 5 stars and 4-star guys. Okay, he's taken that talent and he produces with it. Okay, and that is a sign of a really good coach. And he coaches the basics hard. They don't turn the ball over a lot, and if their opponent turns it over, if Florida State turns it over, they're going to take advantage of it. And so they're the type of team that will be in a lot of close games, and you don't want them hanging around. A few figures that I wrote down I thought were things that are nice to know. One is they're 5-1 overall. The loss to Notre Dame. ACC, they're 2-0 in play. Now, they're averaging, and you tell me if my numbers are wrong. I love your numbers up here on the graph, CFB graphs. That's great. There's a lot of info there. At this point of the season, those numbers start to mean a little something, despite, you always have cream puffs with the harder dogs in there. They average 31 points a game, okay? And their opposition is averaging about 10 points a game. Okay, that's very interesting. Now that's a big difference. They're rushing the ball, averaging 198 yards a game, which tells you again what I said before. They are a run-centered team, averaging 5.6 yards per carry. 17 touchdowns have come on the rush. Okay, on the rush. Passing, they're averaging 190 yards, which is acceptable, but they only have 6 touchdowns through the air. So their whole game plan, that's what Florida State has to hone in on. If you allow them to run the ball, it could be a long and challenging night. Jordan Waters gets 426 net yards on 65 carries, but they kind of do it by committee. They've got a lot of other guys who will handle the ball. Riley Leonard is their second. He's the quarterback we're talking about in question here. He's a good one. He is got 326 yards on 47 carries. He's their second leading rusher. So without him in the game, that's a big deal. I think Riley Leonard could possibly start the game. I don't think he'll finish the first half. if he goes in. I don't know. I tweeted, I think it's kind of a bluff by Elko. I don't think he wants to risk him. And you told me earlier this week, you had a pretty good theory about how Elko may not use him and why, given the ACC schedule ahead, because he's already 2-0 in the ACC. You might want to say something about that theory you had.
Yeah. So that's kind of my thinking, is that, once again, they are 2-0 in the ACC. Do you want to, and once again, no more divisions. It's the top 2 in the conference. You have 3 teams that are undefeated in the conference: North Carolina, Florida State, and Duke. One team's going to leave with a loss this weekend. Do you risk further injuring your star quarterback and Riley Leonard? And he's going to take some pressure this weekend. This defensive line is going to get to him.
Because their offensive line is not that good on Duke.
No, and Fuller's going to bring some pressure. And you saw what Florida State, how they hit, Clemson's quarterback, how they've hit all quarterbacks this year, at least brought pressure on them. And look at who Duke has to play this year. They still have to play Louisville. The next week, they have to go to Kentucky and play Louisville. They have to play UNC 2 weeks later at UNC, at Chapel Hill. So I don't know if do they say put all the chips in and put Riley out there and further and say it's make or break, this is the game? Or do they say let's put the backup in, see what they can do, rely on our defense, rely on the run game, and try to put our best foot forward, but let's not go for broke. Let's play for the rest of the season, potentially. If we pull the upset, great. But then let's play for Louisville. Let's play for Wake. Let's hope all the chips align and we're number 2 when it comes to the rest of the season. That's how I think I would approach. And then, like you said, bluff your way and say, "Yep, he has a good chance of playing this weekend," and try to throw off the coaching staff, even though hey, we're going to bench. We're going to rest this kid unless he is 100% ready to go this weekend.
College football is not like the NFL, where the NFL has to say who's playing, who's not playing, who's questionable. But basically, Elko's saying he's questionable. Game time decision, and that makes FSU have to kind of look at him. But
exactly.
They may have some other information in that regard. Couple other points on this is a couple of other guys I'm looking at in this game will be a defensive back, Miles Jones. He was the highest graded defensive back in PFF grades, if you believe in that stuff. So Miles Jones is a pretty good defensive back. And then you have a linebacker, Trey Freeman. He was the co-ACC linebacker of the week last week. And so he's a guy that could make a play as well for them. Now, the other thing, it'd be interesting to see if Florida State's offensive game plan is, knowing that Duke knows we want to run the ball too, is potentially start off a little bit pass happy to really target their defensive backs. Their defensive backs, I think, are a little bit weak, and they tend to play them one-on-one on islands out there. So if you get a matchup with a one-on-one on Keon Coleman, a one-on-one, I think Johnny Wilson has been out practicing, should be back for some limited reps, if not, maybe full play, that maybe we're going to challenge them a little bit up front, throw some passes, open so those defensive linemen can't tee off on Jordan Travis early on. Be interesting to see if we come out throwing the ball a little bit more to open up the run game.
Yeah, exactly. I think the chat message said do struggle a little bit with the tight ends in the open field, and this could be a big game for Jaheim Bell or Marqueson, or even the newly engaged man himself. So maybe you'll see those. We saw a little bit last week of using targeting the seams. So Jaheim Bell, he had 80 yards last week. That was his biggest game of the season, I believe. So maybe you'll see that next end. They'll start targeting those guys early, open up the line, make the linebackers respect it, open up this field a little bit in the middle, and then start running the ball. So you're right, you may see that, but I do believe that there's going to be too many weapons. If you get Johnny Wilson back this weekend, which I believe the indications are, unless I'm wrong, you're going to have number 1 and number 2 back. And then if you have the tight ends thrown in the mix, they won't be able to double cover everybody. So you're going to have the opportunity to exploit those one-on-one matchups. And I think that's going to make the running game even better this weekend. And it has been. The run blocking's been exceptional the last couple of weeks. And once again, is that a product of the competition you've been playing, or has it just finally clicked for the team? Has the run blocking finally clicked, or has it been competition? We'll find out this weekend, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's a really good point. That we want to see if this team has now starting to reach its potential, because we're starting to run out of football games here, and we want to see if they've reached that potential. Are they being consistent now, or is it an inconsistent team? You don't know who's going to show up, and we've had those teams. But the other thing I want to talk about, the defense. I'm really going to be interested to see if our defense can get off the field. If we, as you showed in that one stat against NC State, was it that Duke only converted 1 of 12 or something?
I think it was 1 of 9 on third down.
Oh my God. That shows, we should be able to get off the field on this team. And I want to see if our defense really turn the corner themselves. Fuller and some of those guys were breaking the stone, and they had a great defensive game. Let's see if we figured it out. I saw an article on, I don't know if it was 24/7 or something, talking about Joshua Farmer may be our best interior defensive lineman. I put a comment on Twitter and I said, I believe he is. I believe he is definitely above in his playing performance this season over Fabian Lovett, number one, because I know Fabian Lovett has been a fan favorite. So I'm not saying he shouldn't be, but what I'm saying is you mark sports by performance, okay? And Joshua Farmer has come a long way to earn the respect he's now getting. And Braden Fisk has been a monster in there as well. This guy's motor is unbelievable, as we've seen in plays. I believe Ed Fabian Lovett makes his contribution, but he is not the leading interior lineman, defensive lineman on this team at this point.
Yeah, talking about the defensive side, I think it's come a long way, and I think the linebackers have come a long way too. And I think to win this game and to win it comfortably, this will be a big game for them, because no matter whether it's Henry, Beeline, Bellin, or if it's Riley Leonard,
it shouldn't matter.
It's going to be up to them to help contain the running ability of them, because both of them will have the ability to make big plays with their legs. And so just plays like this, just examples against NC State of where he broke out, they'll have to be able to respect, this is on their goal line, stuff like that. So even though he may not be the most athletic guy, they're going to want to run the same types of plays with the quarterbacks. It's kind of those read option plays. And it's going to be up to the linebacker of Deloach and Lundy. Those guys have been playing out of their minds in the recent weeks. It's going to be up to them to continue to keep contained, stop the big plays, and make this Duke offense have to pass the ball. Make them have to pass the ball down the field, contain those big plays, and I think you win this game comfortably.
Yeah, I think this kid at quarterback, and I think he'll get the majority of snaps. Bellin, I guess it is, Belin. He's a redshirt freshman, okay? So he's been in their program a little bit, but he doesn't have the snap experience. I think you summed it up. We can't let this guy gain any confidence.
Yeah.
And we must force him into a situation where he has to throw the ball, because he's going to want to use his legs. You just saw a play there where he can run the ball some. And that's what he's going to try to do. He's going to do the he's going to do the early, what we saw in Jordan Travis when he had inexperience, to use his legs to run the football. What I don't want to see from Florida State is Jordan Travis. We don't know how he is 100%. Is he 98%? Is he 90% with that arm thing? Let's not have designed runs for Jordan Travis. We don't need designed runs from Jordan Travis to win this football game. If Jordan Travis sees a opening when he goes back for a pass, take the 5-10 yards, slide, get out of bounds. But why do we need him to carry the ball and design thing? I'm against that.
No, I disagree.
Design run.
I think his running ability is what makes this offense different. I think when he's not,
but I say it's on more of a broken pass play to run, which there are plenty of opportunities when somebody's all covered versus, okay, Jordan's carrying the ball on this play. Why would I risk my quarterback on that?
But it's not necessarily a broken pass play. It should be.
No, I said when everybody's covered. Okay.
But that's the thing. It felt like in the beginning of the year that he was just so focused on, I have to stand look, and then it was either a sack or whatever. It was bad, but I don't want him hesitant to run if his first one or two reads aren't open. Then use your legs, like you said, he's banged up, whatever. He's just got to protect himself. But not having him run, you lose a whole dimension of his offense.
Okay, so you're saying there should be dedicated calls for him to run.
I said there should be in the right scenarios, but I don't think that he should stand in the pocket for more than 3 to 4 seconds.
I'm not saying that. No, wait a minute. You miss what I'm saying is when there's a play call, there are plays called for Trey Benson to carry the ball.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is there should not be plays
disagree.
called for Jordan Travis to run the ball. That's right.
No, I don't think the read options should be taken out of the game plan. That's a whole dimension of this offense. I don't think you can remove them from the game plan. That changes
I would
the look of the offense.
if I was Jordan Travis, I'd be handing the ball off a little bit more unless I saw wide open acres there to run to. So.
But in to that point where, like you said, it's a young guy that has some athletic ability, you're going to have to cover the edges too. And this is another play where the guy can throw the ball, but that guy is wide open. That's why it's going to be so big.
He's a Division I quarterback. Of course he can throw the ball.
But that's why it's just going to be important that they cover
the ball.
That you guys mark up, they got their man, just so that, because you're going to have to chase this guy a little bit. They're going to try to roll us out because that line is going to bring pressure. So you're going to see very similar plays that NC State saw last week.
And those are safe pass plays. They're high efficiency, 10, 15 yards, guys crossing over, things like that. We have to disrupt that.
Yeah. It's just, they're going to try to roll this guy out. They're going to try to use his ability. It's just going to be about making you stay on your man, assignment football. And I think, like you said, it may work the first couple of times, but if they make their adjustments, I think Florida State can quickly shut this down. You just can't let it become a habit, and they're getting 5, 10, 15, 25 chunk yard plays on
everything you see there against NC State. They're going to run against you. They're going to make it comfortable for their redshirt freshman, inexperienced quarterback. They're going to make it comfortable. They're also going to tell him, if you're not sure, don't throw it into traffic. If you're not sure and there's some acreage to get 5, 6 yards, run the damn ball. I mean, this is what you want to do. Don't put pressure on a kid. Figure out what he does well. Figure out why he's on your team by what he did, what he's comfortable doing. And that's what they're going to do.
Because he did throw a pick last week. He only had 4 completions last week.
Right.
And out of his 12 attempts, and he had 1 interception. So, like you said, if he does in fact start, which I do believe there's a high percentage that this kid does start, if you force him into turnovers early, that's where, once again, this game could snowball out of control for him. So I do think Florida State will bring pressure early. You just cannot give up the big play, because that is what's going to raise
the chunk plays.
Yeah. Just like kind of against BC, you let that kid, that kid's an athlete. That guy can run all over the field. But you kept them in that game. They controlled the clock. They sustained drives. Florida State was only on the field, I think, 4 times in the first half. You just cannot let those third downs convert over. You cannot let them take up 8, 9 minutes on a drive and get points out.
Well, if it unfolds that way, then it says our defense just, they got lucky last week, and then this week there's back to what they did. I mean, you're either going to play to dominance or you're not. And then you're just kind of inconsistent. You don't know what's going to show up. So we're going to find out 7:30 p.m. I think 7:30 is the kick, right? On Saturday night at the probably a sold out Doak. It's going to be probably a beautiful day, and it's going to tell us about what we talked about earlier. What does Coach Mike Elko want for the rest of the season?
Yeah.
And how he puts his quarterback out there. We'll see.
So I do believe that the defense that showed up last week and the week before shows up on Saturday night, we should be good. We should dominate the game. But
we'll see.
And also Mike Elko could be the future coach of Texas A&M. So we'll see. He could be looking for. He may be looking for his resume finisher right there.
Well, it looks like he won't be at Michigan State because Urban Meyer looks like he's flying in there that came out on Twitter today. I saw that, caught my attention. It's a rumor. There's, that potentially he's in there talking numbers, and I think Urban Meyer wants to get off the TV set.
But he stepped away because he didn't want to deal with NIL.
No. You know what? It's in his blood. It's in his blood to go into a program. Coaches get excited about that, to go into a program and do better. Because remember where Urban Meyer ended. He ended at Jacksonville, okay, Jaguars, and he got fired there. Correct? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, because he was horrible.
Because he was horrible. Do you think he wants his legacy? He'd rather rebuild a Michigan State team, and guess what he sees? 12 playoff teams, not 4, which makes his job even easier. Because they got the money and the alumni to bring him in. So I wouldn't doubt to see a deal there, and he starts the recruitment.
He better talk to Magic Johnson before. He better make sure Magic Johnson's on board to start up an NIL kind of booster club.
And you know what? Magic Johnson's got a lot of damn money to help him. And maybe Magic Johnson called in there and said, you got to bring this guy in.
Yeah. I don't know what their NIL situation is.
Urban Meyer's a gun for hire. Urban Meyer's a gun for hire. Right.
But like I said, if I was Urban Meyer and I was thinking about taking that job, I would reach out to Magic Johnson. I would reach out to the top alumni there. That's the only one I can think of right now. I would say, Magic, if I come, are you willing to invest in building out the best on NIL in the Big Ten? Because once again, these conferences with realignment are even more competitive. So, and this will be a new landscape for Urban Meyer.
But it's a football coach. It's a football job. It's and so on. Even in business, KB, you're in the business world. It's some guys like to go into a place that is a dumpster fire, which Michigan State is clearly that at this point. But they got some quality athletes there. So he's looking at, it's not like a Colorado, okay? He's got a chance to quickly probably turn this around, in a way. And guess what? He's the guy that he's really got. He has the insights to do it. Some guys thrive on that. They want that. Hey, look what I did. And I think it could be a good fit.
Yeah, I could see him, maybe doing the same thing Prime did at Colorado and just turning the roster, but you never know. All right, let's go to the final predictions, betting odds. What is the line for this game? I don't even know.
Oh, hell, I thought I don't know. I can look it up real quick.
You're supposed to be the betting guru on this.
Yeah,
here it is. I think I have it right here. I don't.
Is it 10? What is it? 10?
I got it right here.
Let's see what it is today. I mean, it changes, so we're looking it up right now.
So public bets, college football week 7, 80% on. It's Duke -3. Wait, no, wait. I guess I don't know why there's different.
Right, now that's not the bets.
Plus.
I'm going to
-17.5. -17.5.
17.5. Wow. Interesting.
Let me see.
That's interesting.
That's
17.5. Wow. I'm thinking.
What is this? A really old? What the hell?
No.
Why does this have Duke first name?
This is for October 21st.
Are you looking at like a newspaper? What are you looking at?
No, I'm looking at an app, Caesar's app. That's what I'm looking at. Wow.
If anyone knows the spread, does anyone know the spread?
Oh, here it is. When I looked at it yesterday, it was 14.5. Florida State by 14.5. Okay.
14.5?
He's got 13.5. I had 14 yesterday.
Okay. So
yeah.
I would take that. I think it's going to be like final score would be like 35-21. So I'll take 14 points. I'll take 30. Well, it depends. Like,
no,
if
wait,
Riley Leonard starts,
you're going to take Duke in 14. That's what you're saying.
No. I'll take.
You'll take Florida State.
35-20.
Okay.
And it really depends. If Riley Leonard starts, I think that spread. I think it changes a little bit, but I'll take Florida State by 14.
I think this spread indicates he's not going to play.
Yeah.
That Riley Leonard is probably not going to play, but that spread could be there as well, even if Riley Leonard played and was healthy. Okay, this is the time Florida State, number 4 in the country, must step up, must play dominating football, because we're real close to the committee getting together in a little conference room and coming up with their selections.
Oh yeah, I had the wrong odds up. Good call, right? I had the
I had it here. I just didn't see it in my notes.
Yeah. Okay.
See, I actually do some.
So he was reading from a
piece
of paper. He was reading from a piece of paper.
No, I was. I have it right here. I'm not making this up. I'm not here to make crap up. Okay. Other games that I'm going to be watching: Miami and Clemson. They've got Miami +3. Okay, so they're the underdog. Miami, what do you think? And it's on the road, I think, at Clemson, I think.
Let me think about that. So Miami. No, I'm not taking Miami.
You know, that's going to be an interesting game, both for Mario and both for Dabo. I mean, it looks like almost a coin toss there.
Hey, tickets as low as $14 though, so anybody can go.
That's a good $14 ticket,
and that's a low line. -3 for Clemson.
Yeah.
I would probably take -3. I mean, if Clemson loses that game, if the Clemson fan base is going to go crazy.
Not good.
I'm
sorry, it's in Miami.
Yeah,
so
which means nothing. Which means
that's
nothing.
A cheap ticket down there. Yeah, that's $14.
No, that's an expensive ticket down there. That's an expensive ticket in Miami.
Stop.
That is.
Yeah,
$2.
Your hot dog and your beer in the parking will cost you more than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'll take Clemson -3.
Okay. You got Penn State versus Ohio State. When I saw it, it was Penn State plus 4.5. So they got Ohio State winning by more than 4.5. What do you think?
This is a tough. It's
two undefeated teams, both 3-0 in the Big Ten. This is a huge game.
Who has Penn State played though? Have they played?
Not much.
I'm not sure Penn State has played. They play their best opponent so far this season is. Let me pull this up.
They got this.
They haven't played. Iowa's their best win this year, and Iowa scores 7 points a game. So I'm gonna pick Ohio State, but I don't think Ohio State's an elite team. I don't think either of these teams are proving yet. But I'll take Ohio State. Especially at home.
I think Ohio State at home will probably do better than the 4.5, to be honest.
But once again, Penn State could surprise, and they are for real. So it's hard because I just haven't seen Penn State really play anyone great yet. So it could be. But
it'll be a good game to watch. What time is that game?
12 noon.
Oh, 12 noon.
Yeah.
You remember when in the old days the 12 noon games were the crap teams?
Yeah.
Now they actually put a lot of the better teams up front, but fans hate noon games.
Yeah, that's a tough slot.
No, I'm talking about fans that go to the stadium. It sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, here's an interesting game of two upcoming opponents for Florida State in the next two. Pittsburgh versus Wake.
Why is that on your radar? Who gives a shit?
Well, you know why?
Pittsburgh versus Wake.
Because you and I had talked about that up in Pittsburgh, they just beat up Louisville, who Louisville had beaten up Notre Dame. So it'll be interesting to see how Pittsburgh plays at home. No, this is in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, this is in Winston-Salem.
To see how they play. But you got two teams here. You can get scouted all at once. Another $14 game for anybody in that area. That's a good price for a ticket. Take it. Is it supposed to rain?
Yeah.
Wait a second. That's not good.
Once again, I don't know. Pittsburgh's playing with a new quarterback.
It's 1 point, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, if Pittsburgh wins this game, and they blow out Wake Forest or win by a couple scores, it'll be interesting because I seeing if this new quarterback is making a difference for them, it'll be interesting.
Well, I ran into a fan from the Pittsburgh area just a couple days ago, and she told me that they have now transitioned from who was it, Jerkovich? He's out. He's out.
Good. Yeah.
They took him out. And they put in this new guy, and they kind of like the new guy.
This Christian kid.
They kind of like that guy. So it'll be interesting to see if he takes over the job now full time.
Yeah.
A couple of games we won't see. The Florida Gators are on bye week. They're getting ready for their big game against Georgia a week from Saturday in the biggest cocktail party in Jacksonville. And Coach Prime's Colorado Buffaloes still nursing their wounds from getting beat after being up 29-0. They're on bye this week. You got any other big games you want to focus on?
I would say Tennessee, Alabama is a good game. But, I mean, you want to focus on Wake Forest and Pittsburgh. So, I mean.
Well, I'm just saying that's because it's Florida State opponents. That's all I'm focused on that one.
But I think Tennessee, Alabama, I mean, neither of these teams can afford another loss. I think another loss knocks either of them out of potential playoff picture. So this is an eliminator game. If you want to watch an eliminator game at 3:30, watch this game because either one of these teams loses, they're out.
Okay.
So
the last thing, and you said we couldn't air it because we'd get thrown off the YouTube or some crap like that, was that fight at the Dallas. Who the hell was that? Dallas Chargers game?
There's fights at every NFL game.
No,
I don't know why you want me to show that.
This was like a massive riot. I mean, people are slipping in beer. They're grabbing each other. It was better than the damn game. It was unbelievable. You can show it. It's been everywhere. Just push it up there.
I don't know.
It was, if fans haven't seen this, it's wonderful. It's great.
Not wonderful.
I put it, hey, if you see it, go to our Twitter account. I put it up on Twitter. You can see it there if KB thinks we're going to get in trouble here, whatever that means, but we're not afraid, KB.
This is what you want to show?
I've never seen, this is a riot. Usually you see one or two guys. Look at this. Watch this. People are slipping in beer. There's women in there. This is what happens when you run out of hot dogs, okay? And the only thing left, look at this guy. The only thing left is caramel corn and peanuts. Now watch this. Another guy comes flying in. Watch this guy. Whoa. We might sign some of these guys up. Colorado could be in there, recruiting some of these guys. Watch this. Unbelievable. What?
Oh, what?
Watch these two. Watch this guy. Down he goes. Look at this guy.
The water's taking out more people.
No,
than
it's
the
beer.
men
It's
are.
not water. Shit. That's why they're fighting.
The beer's taking out more than the men are.
Look at this. Oh, a takedown. Takedown. Unbelievable.
This is so dumb.
Unbelievable.
You couldn't pay me to go to one of those games.
That is one of the best fight videos ever. And these guys are paying what, $200 and a quarter to get into these games?
You couldn't catch me at one of those games.
The best action's at the concession stand, not on the field. All right, I got one other thing. One other thing in my notes. Okay, I'm going to air this out a little bit. This is me. This is not KB. This is my editorial. Okay. Now listen, I'm going to call out. I was listening across the channels, which I always do. War Chant, Jeff Cameron show. Jeff Cameron was calling out older folks that go to the Florida State games and that are at Doak Campbell Stadium. Okay, you can go back and look at his show this week, and he was saying that he is tired of seeing older folks, okay, not standing up on every play, okay, or saying, hey, could you guys sit down? Listen, and just being
he was calling you out for your commentary.
In the best seats, in the center section. Now, he said he was there with family, maybe his dad. And he says, well, my dad even says, tell people to sit down. You know what I mean? Listen, there are people there. These older folks, okay, are paying the biggest bills for this Florida State football team. It's not the guys down in the front guzzling beer and throwing it up on their buddies 2 sections down, okay? And I take exception to those comments that the elderly also have a right to be in the stadium, and that, you know what, who do you think is paying for the big seats up there in the Champions Club? Who do you think is putting the biggest money in the NIL funds? It's not the college students or the middle-aged people that are trying to meet their bills, much less give money away. So that is my editorial, that lay off the old folks.
All right. Well, maybe they should have a special section for you guys.
Well, maybe they should.
Sitting only section.
Well, you know what? It is a struggle to go from your seat all the way down to the concession stand to get down there and say, I'd like a hot dog. And they go, well, I'm sorry, we're out of buns.
Maybe they should have a section where they have like built-in toilets into your seats, and then they have people that bring up food to you too.
Or
like
you
could
rent a catheter.
Well, okay. I don't know if we need to go that far, but that could be a specialty service.
But I am saying that. Shout out. I can start doing editorials.
B. Riley says a real FSU fan sits when they're dead.
Yeah, we could just prop us up there. keep taking money out of our wallet, right, B. Riley? Okay. And this is what Jeff Cameron also said. He goes, for sure, on third downs, you must get up.
That's you should. Or
Well,
they should throw you out of the stadium. Or they
I
should
told
throw
you
out of the
that
stadium.
story of people around me at what was that, Parents Weekend? The people around me said they weren't coming back.
Hey, as long as they write the check, they don't care. Write that tuition check.
And that is the old man's editorial.
All right. Well, we expect FSU to cover the spread this weekend. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, whether you're watching this live or afterwards. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Well, we may not see you guys on Saturday post game, but we'll do our post game show on Sunday or Monday. So enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your Friday. Enjoy your Saturday. We'll see you in prime time on 7:30. Watch it as a team, or watch it wherever you are. We'll be watching it together. So enjoy, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe out there. And we'll see you soon for the post game. Have a great one, guys.
Bring your own hot dog buns to the stadium.
Have a good one, guys. Go Noles.
All right, man.
All right. Oh, sorry. It's still on.